And so the latest rumor about you is that you are having a baby, and I want to know what, if anything, you want to share about that with the class.
Cardi B just had a baby with Offset a few days ago, and now she's announcing she's pregnant again, this time by NFL star Stefon Diggs. This isn't just celebrity gossip, this is a full-blown drama you don't want to miss. Lately, online conversations, especially within Black internet spaces, have been buzzing about. Cardi B fans have noticed subtle changes in how she carries herself, from the way she carefully navigates steps to moments where her movements seem less steady than usual. These observations have fueled speculation that she may be expecting her fourth child. Still, whenever the question has been brought to her directly, Cardi hasn't hesitated to give her own clear response. This kind of speculation is not new territory for Cardi B, nor is it unfamiliar in the broader world of celebrity culture. High-profile women, particularly those in music, film and television, often find themselves at the center of pregnancy rumors the moment their bodies, energy levels, or stylistic choices shift in even the slightest way. For Cardi, whose life and career have always been heavily scrutinized online, the cycle of speculation, denial, and re-speculation has almost become part of her public narrative. What's unique this time is the tone of the conversations happening within Black internet spaces. Unlike the more generalized celebrity gossip that circulates in tabloids, these conversations often carry layers of cultural observation, community dynamics, and shared experience. Fans don't just see a possible pregnancy, they see a mother, a wife, a performer, and a Black Latina navigating fame in real time, with all of its challenges and expectations. In recent weeks, short video clips and candid images of Cardi have circulated across TikTok, Twitter, now X, and Instagram. Observant fans point to her posture, the way she pauses before stepping onto a stage platform, or moments when she opts for looser, layered clothing during performances. For many, these are seen as telltale signs, a soft launch of pregnancy, as some jokingly call it. But for others, the speculation feels premature and invasive. The human body changes for countless reasons: exhaustion, weight fluctuation, minor injuries, or even something as simple as a change in diet. For a performer like Cardi B, who is constantly traveling, rehearsing, and exerting herself physically, it's natural that her body might occasionally move differently than fans expect. Yet in the hypervisual culture of social media, every detail is magnified, dissected, and turned into content. Speculation gains traction because of Cardi's already visible role as a mother. With 3 children she's spoken about publicly, Cardi has never hidden her affection for her family or the ways motherhood shapes her. At the same time, she's been vocal about how pregnancy and childbirth intersect with her career in rap, a field that often demands constant visibility, high-energy performances, and physical stamina. Each of Cardi's past pregnancies has generated its own round of headlines and online chatter. Fans remember when she revealed her pregnancy on Saturday Night Live in 2018, performing in a fitted white gown that highlighted her baby bump. The moment was widely celebrated, not just for the surprise reveal, but for the way it pushed back against stereotypes about women in hip-hop and their supposed inability to balance motherhood with career ambition. This history means that when fans detect even a hint of similar behavior now, their minds naturally jump to the possibility of another baby. But what gets lost in this cycle is Cardi's own agency. She has made it clear, repeatedly, that she will announce personal news on her own terms, in her own way. Until then, speculation remains just that, speculation. Within Black internet spaces, these conversations take on deeper textures. Discussions about Cardi's movements or body language aren't just gossip, they're layered with cultural understandings of motherhood, womanhood, and public scrutiny. Many Black women online point out the double bind that Cardi faces. She is expected to be both endlessly glamorous and endlessly real. Any deviation from that balance, be it walking more carefully in heels or appearing less energetic on stage, opens the door for critique and rumor. There's also a recognition of how quickly Black and Latina women's bodies are policed in the public eye. Unlike some of their white counterparts in entertainment, who may receive gentler speculation or even silence during personal transitions, women like Cardi often face harsher judgment, amplified commentary, and constant demands to explain themselves. Fans, critics, and casual observers alike feel entitled to answers, as though her body were public property. This raises an important question: what does it mean for a community to celebrate Cardi while also scrutinizing her? On the one hand, the speculation can be read as a form of intimacy, a way of saying, "We notice you, we pay attention." On the other hand, it risks perpetuating the same invasive dynamics that Cardi herself has pushed back against, expecting her to share details before she's ready, or at all. When asked directly, Cardi B hasn't hesitated to shut down the rumors. True to her candid, straightforward style, she has offered clear responses, often laced with humor or sharp wit. For her, the speculation is nothing new. It's almost an occupational hazard. But her willingness to respond also signals something larger. She refuses to let the internet dictate her narrative. Still, her responses don't always quiet the buzz. In fact, sometimes they amplify it, as fans dissect not just what she says but how she says it. Was her denial too quick? Too defensive? Too playful? This meta-analysis, the analysis of the denial itself, becomes yet another layer of speculation. Cardi B's situation is emblematic of a larger cultural pattern. Celebrity culture thrives on rumor and speculation, especially around pregnancies, because they represent both mystery and transformation. A new child is not just a personal milestone but also a shift in the celebrity's public identity. And the anticipation of that shift fuels media coverage, fan excitement, and even brand strategy. For women, especially women of color, this cycle is intensified. Every outfit choice, hairstyle, or slowed-down walk can spark headlines. And while some fans engage with these conversations playfully, others contribute to a climate that leaves little room for privacy or humanity. What would it look like to reframe the conversation around Cardi B? Instead of asking whether she is pregnant, fans and media could ask, how is Cardi navigating her demanding career while prioritizing her health? How does she continue to balance artistry with family life in a way that's authentic to her? What lessons can be learned from her insistence on setting her own terms for disclosure? By shifting the focus, the narrative could move away from invasive speculation and toward deeper appreciation. Cardi has already shown that she can surprise and delight her fans when she's ready to share news. Trusting her to do so again might be the most supportive stance. The fascination with Cardi B's possible pregnancy says as much about us as it does about her. It reflects a culture that craves constant updates, thrives on microanalysis, and sometimes forgets the humanity of those in the spotlight. It also reflects how deeply Cardi is woven into contemporary culture. Her every move is watched, interpreted, and debated because she matters to so many people. At the same time, it highlights the need for boundaries, both personal and collective. Cardi B has always been more transparent than many of her peers, but transparency should not be mistaken for total access. Fans can love her, celebrate her, and even speculate lightly, but ultimately, her life remains hers to define and disclose.
30 weeks pregnant. No, you stupid. I'm just out of breath because I got asthma, not because of that. Shut the up. Always a motherfucker trying to be funny in this. I fucking funny in this before you get blocked. Now put your ass on a pot. Stupid ass comment. Don't put that. Don't put that in me, Anyway,
Cardi B has been doing her best to keep this pregnancy under wraps, though fans couldn't help but notice the obvious signs. The conversation finally came to light when she sat down with Gayle King for an interview that aired on September 17, 2025. During their talk, Gayle addressed the circulating rumors head-on. The latest buzz is that you're expecting. Is there anything you'd like to share with everyone? With a smile, Cardi confirmed the news. Yes, I am. She admitted, I'm having a baby with my boyfriend, Stefon Diggs. That revelation quickly stirred up conversation, not only because of her relationship with Diggs, but also because of lingering drama tied to her past. Allegedly, when Cardi was pregnant with Offset's child, Offset accused Diggs of being involved with her at the same time. If those claims held weight, it even raised questions about the paternity of her previous child. The interview didn't stop there, as Gayle continued pressing further into the story.
The latest rumor about you is that you are having a baby, and I want to know what, if anything, you want to share about that with the class.
Well, yes, I am. I'm having a baby with my boyfriend, Stefon.
Despite the speculation, one thing is clear. Cardi and Stefon seem to genuinely care for one another. Still, not everyone is convinced. Online voices range from skepticism to outright dismissal. As always, the Black internet has plenty to say. Some commentators have called out the constant judgment, reminding others that it's her life and her baby. She's pregnant, so what? Nobody else is going to be raising that child. It's not like she's planning to drop the baby off at your doorstep, one person noted. Others pointed out the hypocrisy, saying, "We don't come for you when you're on your 15th kid, so calm down." In short, while some argue that her pregnancy is nobody else's business, the conversation clearly doesn't end there.
So she just confirmed what we all already knew, that she's pregnant. But not just pregnant. She's pregnant by her boyfriend while still being married. Child, I'm not blaming this on ghetto. That shit is third world country. And what makes it even more third world country, that bitch just had a baby by her husband like 3 days ago. She don't even know the fucking baby's name at this point. She don't even know the fucking name. That baby don't know.
Regardless of the rumors, one thing that stands out is the connection between Cardi and Stephen. There's no denying they care for each other. Yet public opinion remains divided, with reactions ranging from outright doubt to sharp criticism. And, as always, the black internet hasn't held back. Some voices online have pushed back against the scrutiny, stressing that Cardi's pregnancy is ultimately her responsibility and no one else's. She's expecting big deal. None of you are going to be the ones raising that baby. It's not like she's about to drop the child off at your front door, one commenter wrote. Others highlighted the double standard. People act pressed about her situation, but nobody says a word when some of y'all are on baby number 15. So while many argue that Cardi's pregnancy is nobody's business but her own, the debate clearly continues to ripple across the internet.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a little weird to say, I'm so happy that Cardi is finally happy after her messy divorce because now she has a boyfriend and a baby on the way. We don't really need men to validate that we're valuable after our relationships end with other men. It's okay. There are other great things about us, and also having a baby is not inherently synonymous with happiness.
One voice in the ongoing debate raised a particularly powerful point. Being praised simply for attracting a new partner after a marriage ends isn't necessarily a victory. A woman's worth doesn't depend on whether she can secure another man. Women have value entirely on their own. That perspective cuts to the heart of this conversation. Because in today's culture, people often equate validation with romantic success, when in reality, human worth extends far beyond relationships. Women, like men, contribute meaningfully to society and healthcare, education, business, and countless other areas that shape our world. Yet celebrity influence can blur this truth. Cardi B's life, with her fame and financial security, is not reflective of the average woman's circumstances. While Cardi may never worry about making ends meet thanks to her music career, investments, and endorsements, her choices ripple outward, influencing fans who see themselves in her. For some women, especially younger ones, Cardi becomes a mirror. If she can move on, have another child, and still thrive, maybe I can too. But that line of thinking can be misleading. Celebrities live in an insulated world. Cardi's relationship with Stefon Diggs may appear aspirational, but the reality is more complex. Offset's frustration, for example, has fueled rumors about loyalty and paternity in the past. And though Cardi's wealth cushions her from consequences, many women don't share that safety net. If they follow her example without the same resources, they risk hardship for themselves and their children. This is where the role model dilemma comes in. Fans see Cardi's glamorous lifestyle but rarely the behind-the-scenes struggles, her work ethic, sacrifices, and private battles. Some may even assume that if she can navigate multiple relationships and children, they can do the same. But for most, the results look very different. Raising children with multiple fathers brings unique challenges: financial strain, family tension, and emotional stress that aren't always visible in celebrity narratives. The hard truth is this: while Cardi can attract a high-profile athlete like Diggs, the average woman may not have that option. If someone working a regular job with limited resources makes similar choices, the outcome can lead to long-term instability. It's not about beauty or personal value, it's about opportunity and circumstance. Celebrities like Cardi and Ciara operate in spaces most people will never access. Ciara, for instance, was able to marry Russell Wilson not only because of her looks, but because of her career success, wealth, and social standing. That context matters. For everyday women, romantic decisions tied to multiple children and unstable partners often lead not to empowerment but to hardship. In communities already struggling with poverty, these choices can deepen generational cycles of instability. That's why celebrating Cardi's situation without nuance can be dangerous. It inspires some to imitate a path that doesn't translate into their reality. At the end of the day, Cardi will be fine. Offset will move on. Diggs may or may not remain in her life long term, but the women who idolize her don't share her wealth or network, and for them, similar choices could result in poverty, disappointment, and hardship. The lesson isn't about judging Cardi, it's about recognizing the gap between celebrity lifestyles and everyday life, and making choices grounded in one's own reality rather than in someone else's. Spotlight. When we look closely at the way celebrities like Cardi B live, we see an entire infrastructure surrounding them that insulates them from the consequences most people would face in similar situations. She has the financial stability to hire nannies, private chefs, stylists, personal trainers, and even full-time security. These resources give her freedom to juggle the demands of motherhood, relationships, and career in ways that are simply inaccessible to the average woman. For someone earning minimum wage or working multiple jobs to support her family, adding multiple children to the equation without reliable partnership or financial support isn't empowering, it's exhausting, and in many cases, devastating. Cardi's persona has always been tied to authenticity. She built her career on being blunt, unapologetic, and unafraid to show both the glamorous and the gritty sides of her life. That authenticity resonates deeply, especially among young women who see in her a mirror of their own struggles and ambitions. Yet, when fans blur the line between inspiration and imitation, the consequences can be heavy. A woman who models her choices after a celebrity's, without considering the profound differences in circumstance, may end up locked into a cycle of instability that takes generations to undo. This is especially true in communities already burdened by systemic inequality. Poverty doesn't just mean a lack of money, it often means limited access to childcare, healthcare, education, and stable housing. A single mother in such a community faces obstacles that wealth and fame can mask or even erase. For someone like Cardi, if Offset decides to step back or if Diggs drifts away, Cardi still has millions in assets, brand deals, and an entire industry invested in her continued success. If the everyday woman's partner leaves, she might be facing eviction, mounting debt, or the impossible decision between paying for childcare and keeping her job. That's why the celebration of celebrity lifestyles requires nuance. Admiring Cardi's resilience, her artistry, and her capacity to thrive despite chaos is one thing, but elevating her personal choices as universally empowering risks creating a distorted mirror. What works for her, or rather, what doesn't destroy her because she has safety nets in place, could destroy someone else. The reality is that not everyone can afford the luxury of making the same mistakes or experimenting with the same choices. The narrative that multiple children with multiple partners automatically signals independence or power is dangerous when stripped of context. Cardi can go online, speak her truth, clap back at critics, and move on with her life largely unaffected. The woman down the block who follows that example may face stigma, isolation, or even a lack of community support. In many neighborhoods, family structures are already fragile. Fathers are absent or unreliable, not because women choose poorly but because larger forces mass incarceration, economic instability, generational trauma tear families apart. In that context, every additional layer of instability multiplies the struggle, especially for women who carry the burden of both provider and nurturer. This isn't about shaming women who make difficult choices in complicated circumstances. It's about telling the truth, celebrating Cardi without nuanced risks, sending the message that the road she's on is glamorous or universally attainable, when in fact it is paved with privileges unavailable to most. She will always have financial safety nets, always have people to step in if things go wrong, always have access to resources that buffer her from collapse. Everyday women, by contrast, have to strategize, plan, and sometimes sacrifice dreams to avoid slipping deeper into hardship. Cardi herself has acknowledged some of these dynamics in the past. She has spoken about how money changes problems, about how struggles that felt overwhelming when she was broke became manageable once she had wealth. That honesty matters, but the fandom doesn't always internalize the difference. Instead, many get swept up in the imagery of Cardi as an unstoppable figure, someone who can handle anything and come out shining. While it's empowering in one sense, it can be misleading in another. For women without Cardi's resources, the consequences of unstable partnerships and multiple children can close doors rather than open them. We also have to think about the cultural impact of celebrity models. In a world where social media has replaced traditional mentorship in many communities, Celebrities often fill the role of guide, example, and even surrogate family. Young women scrolling through Instagram or TikTok see Cardi living boldly, unbothered by criticism, and they internalize that as strength. But they may not see the layers of management, the accountants, the lawyers, the childcare workers, and the PR specialists working behind the scenes to hold her life together. They only see the front-facing narrative. And that narrative, while inspiring, can set unrealistic expectations for everyday women struggling without those invisible supports. Generational cycles of instability are real and devastating. A child growing up in poverty with limited stability at home is more likely to repeat those patterns as an adult. It's not inevitable, but it's statistically significant. When celebrity culture normalizes or glamorizes decisions that increase instability, it can unconsciously reinforce patterns that many families are desperate to escape. Cardi doesn't owe anyone her life choices, but as consumers of her story, we owe it to ourselves and to younger generations to be critical about what we celebrate and what we imitate. At the same time, it's important not to demonize Cardi or reduce her to a cautionary tale. She is a woman navigating her own life, making choices in real time, and balancing pressures that few of us could understand. Her wealth protects her, but it doesn't erase the very human challenges of love, heartbreak, parenting, and identity. The lesson is not to condemn her but to contextualize her. She can inspire us with her honesty, her hustle, and her creativity. But that inspiration must be filtered through the reality of our own lives. For everyday women, empowerment may look different. It may mean prioritizing financial stability before expanding a family. It may mean seeking partnerships grounded in trust and long-term commitment rather than immediate chemistry. It may mean learning from role models who model not just resilience in chaos but also the quiet power of planning, patience, and stability. None of these things are glamorous in the way celebrity lifestyles are portrayed, but they are often the keys to breaking cycles of poverty and building generational security. At the end of the day, Cardi will be fine. Offset will move on. Diggs may or may not remain in her life long term. She will continue to thrive because her wealth, fame, and network guarantee a level of security that shields her from the worst consequences. But the women who idolize her don't share her wealth or her network. For them, similar choices could result in poverty, disappointment, and hardship. And that's the central lesson here. It isn't about judging Cardi, it's about recognizing the gap between celebrity lifestyles and everyday life, and making choices grounded in one's own reality rather than in someone else's spotlight.